What's up, everybody? Heat Ratio Sports coming back for a double dose of Dave Gleckner, but I'm bringing a different Marc on this one. If you just watched the golf show, we're here for the Philly 4 for 4 plus so much more. Fourth and go as we do each Wednesday here, 9:30 Heat Ratio Network. Marc, what's up, my brother?
What up? What up? It's another, I guess, can we call it a winning Wednesday? Not really. Nothing happened, but it's a winning Wednesday just because it's us. I mean, it's always a winning Wednesday when we come on the airwaves, so it doesn't matter.
I love it. I love it. I mean, last time the Sixers played, they won. So we can take that, you know?
Well, it was an interesting chain of events. You have the week before, Tuesday before our show, they get manhandled by the Celtics by 48, down as much as like 54 at one point, to beating Milwaukee in Milwaukee the night before the All-Star events take place, without James Harden, without Seth Curry, without Andre Drummond. Like, you're down. You're down because you've gone through. You don't really have everybody up yet, and you do. And I mean, Milwaukee was full. Pretty full.
Yeah.
And it was a really good game. Sixers were up for a lot of it, let them back in at the end, but then they clawed their way back to win that game out. I mean, it was a great win to see without James Harden. And from what it sounds like, James Harden's already had an impact on a couple of the players on the team, specifically in that game, i.e. Tyrese Maxey and George Niang.
Yeah, it was funny. You saw that. Thank you. As he starts yelling at Maxey after the N1. He did have a distinct impact from a coaching standpoint. You're reading a lot of articles now coming out that he's a presence that they all respect, that they're listening to. He's taking a leadership role. And I mean, that's so much, to be honest, that's hard to do when you first step into a new situation. But obviously his game speaks for itself. And I think that's, once you see that game, you start realizing this guy knows what he's doing. I should listen to him. I don't know if some of it is a little bit of a campaign strategy also by the Sixers to, build up James's, I guess, ego and reputation. He's had some rough go of it lately. And in NBA circles, some people aren't quite happy with him forcing his way out. So maybe it's part of that. Don't get me wrong. But he did have an impact. And let's talk that Milwaukee game, because I remember it distinctly last Thursday night, and they were 6.5-point dogs in Milwaukee, a team they had lost, I want to say 8 straight, but it could have been 6. It's something very significant. They had lost a lot of games in a row to Milwaukee. Hadn't won there in quite some time. And they just had their number. And if you remembered the Milwaukee games, I mean, we were up like 20 on them one night. Yeah. I think early or late last year, found a way to blow it. I mean,
I think that was the one where Giannis was kind of struggling in the first half, and then I think he had 32 in the second half alone, and they, I think, went into overtime, and Giannis dominated the overtime as well. I'm pretty sure.
I think he did this after he dunked on Ben or something. We've had our trouble, even though I think we would have matched up well with them last year. I think everybody had that feeling. The wins just haven't flowed as normal as they used to, coming off the 48-point loss, being a 6.5-point dog. Not winning much against Milwaukee. It did put the Sixers in a tough situation. Like you said, a little bit shorthanded just based upon the trade factors. But I will give the Sixers a ton of credit in that game because Milwaukee doubled Embiid. And he still found ways to be efficient because he was 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 from threes that night. He was still great, and great can be.
42, 14, and 5, I think.
It was, but really, here's where, and I don't do this much. Doc Rivers won that game with his coaching adjustments. Mm-hmm. And where he did it was inserting Furkan Korkmaz in, I think, late second quarter, but definitely to start the third quarter over a struggling Matisse Thybulle. And that's why I wanted to bring this up with you. They wanted to mix this defensive lineup in, but Thybulle, I mean, they could just, when I talked about double teaming, it was so easy for them to double team Embiid by sagging off Tybulle's guy, and he didn't make them pay. And as they continue to see that, and he wasn't making an impact on defense as well, as Drew Holiday was having a day on him, and that's very rare. Doc actually said, you know what, I got to spread this floor. I got to bring shooters. And they were down. I want to say the score was like 53-41. They're down 12. And the kids, I got them dialed in to start watching. They went on this like 20-2 run with shooters after that.
Yeah,
and
they were the second quarter, or like the second half of the second quarter, I think it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Second half, second quarter. And for all of what it's worth, I mean, that was a huge adjustment. Something we're going to have to look at as we, travel down the road with James Harden. Who's going to be in the starting line? Who's going to be the kind of guys in there that work? Because if you know the Sixers, they're a great first quarter team. They're a great third quarter team. They're not very good in the second and fourth quarter. And then if you line it up, it's Doc Rivers' substitutions and the way he manages this team. Obviously, some of it's Embiid being out. That's when he's out. But I give him credit for this one. I thought that was a big adjustment he made. And Furkan came up big.
Well, the good thing, hopefully going forward is that in regards to Embiid and regards to Thibault, to get the defense, I think Thibault will benefit with Harden being there. If they run a decent amount of time with their starting lineup out there, and say Thibault is in that starting lineup, I think that gives them the defensive factor, because we know Harden does not play much defense, and they won't be able to sag off of Thibault because he'll just be open. And he'll be able to contribute offensively by, running the baseline, getting lob opportunities, when they double up either Embiid or Harden. Like, the defense is going to have to pick who are they going to let score that night. Are you playing a team that has a center that can combat Joel Embiid, so they, are able to double up on Harden? And then that means that, Thibault is the one running free, because he's going to be the fifth option on the floor.
But he's been a good slasher. He has been
That's what I'm saying. That's what he's going to benefit. And Harden's ability to pass the ball and, be a lob passer is going to help. I think that, when they need defense and scoring at the same time, I think that's going to be, a good lineup to see. Now, the other thing that we see is that the Sixers picked up Willie Cauley Stein. And I think they played together before, Harden and Willie Cauley Stein. And he's going to be a good pick and roll, lob to the basket. So it's going to open up Harden's game. He's going to be able to facilitate. So I think that's going to be a good thing going forward. And that's going to give Embiid some minutes off of the floor. So
Morey was hinting towards that. He was saying, hey, I'm getting a big guy. I wish I could tell you. He was saying that the All-Star break, but it's a guy we know. Right. It's a guy I've used before. Wink, wink. So, I do think they had some court time and some familiarity before. He's most known. I think he was like a Kings guy for a while. Yeah. But, he's like –
by the Kings. I mean, he's a serviceable guy. He's going to be a decent backup.
I equate him to like JaVale McGee light.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. And hey, I think a Kentucky guy altogether too. So good for Maxey as well. So, but what I'm convinced after watching that game the other night, I'm not sure Maxey's in the starting lineup now. I mean, Thibault's in the starting lineup now. I think it could be Harden, Maxey, because they're starting to get this bond together.
Right.
Embiid, Harris.
Maybe
it might be Green
or Furkan.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try and rely on Green's defensive ability. I think if they,
that's what I think.
He's not as good of a defender, but he's
not as he was
shooter when he's on than Thibault. They maybe like, when a Green isn't available, then Korkmaz takes that spot. I think they still work Thibault in there, but I think he eventually can be effective. I mean, I hope that he feeds off of Harden when it comes to being a shooter, hopefully, if he's really being this mentor. I mean, going back to that point, I wanted to touch on that. I think in part it's campaign by the Sixers. I think it's in part too, if he really thinks about this, because he worked his way out of Houston, Brooklyn. And if that report is true that Woj was saying the morning of, saying he doesn't want the public backlash of actually asking out, therefore he didn't ask out, but made the moves in place for him to ask out. He's got to treat this like, one of his last real chances. I mean, this is his best opportunity. I think the difference of the situation in Brooklyn is with the uncertainty of Durant and Irving, and with all three of that, not enough, because I really believe there was not enough ball to go around for the three of them. I think Embiid and Harden being the dominance, I think that makes sense. You have a big and they both can feed off each other. I think they kind of tried throwing something at the wall in Brooklyn and hoping that it would stick. But I think too many personalities there. I just don't think that it was in the cards. I mean, yeah, could they have tried to make it work? Sure. And yeah, they were 13-3, but I think that this is his best opportunity. I think he knows he has to take this chance, and he's coming up on a big contract too. So I think he has to be that guy, and I think he has to be that veteran leadership. And I think he knows that he has this opportunity, because it's not like when you walk into a room with Durant and Irving, like they've both won their titles. They're not going to listen to him. He's the third option in their opinion.
Yeah.
I think he has a chance to prove himself. He's playing with an MVP caliber guy, but can also be the veteran in the room, and he's got to take that leadership role and make sure he earns all of that contract that's going to be coming due. Now with Morey's love fest with him, it's probably going to come, but it's really a place for him to shine. This is his opportunity.
No doubt about it. And shine, I think he will. And I do. I really have this.
He's got to.
It's not blind faith. I believe truly that he's going to make this work for him, similar to what you were talking about, for him, because this is where he wanted to go. He's admitted that's where he wanted to go last year. So I think he's in that good, place that he wants to be. His mind's going to be right. His heart's going to be right. Also, the talent's still there. There's talent around him, and there's doubters. And a lot of times people play a little bit better when they're doubted. And I think James is doubted heavily right now. And I think he's going to come to shine. I really do. I really have a lot of faith that this is going to work out. Will work out for 5-6 years. I don't know about that. This guy gets old fast. But 2-3, there's a chance, man.
Yeah, I think
all you guys do is get me one. Get me one title.
Get me one. I think getting him, I said it last week and I'll say it again. Getting him this half of season, I think was huge.
Huge.
Because even if they don't win this year, I think, and, he's back next year, whether he opts in or if they, finagle something and, he gets another deal, him and Embiid will have a rapport and they'll have a full season together and they'll make it work some way, somehow. And then they're strong contenders going into next season.
Yeah. So let's talk about that starting lineup a little bit more, because I can't see it. Here's mine. I'm going to give you my 5, and I'm going to stick with it. It is Embiid, Harris, Green, Maxey, Harden. I don't think you can put Korkmaz out there vice Green, because I think when you bring in the backups and you're bringing Tybal in, you got to bring shooting with him. So I think it'll be good to bring Niang and Korkmaz in together with Tybal, stretch this out, maybe shift some minutes around. So that's where I'm going on my starting lineup. Where are you at?
I'm the same, minus Green, sub in Tybal. I think they're going to give him an opportunity, maybe try and give him some confidence and give that defense. I think he just had a bad game the other night. I really think that there's the possibility with both Harden and Embiid on the floor, defenses aren't going to know what to do, who to double. And I think that's going to leave slashing opportunities for Tybal. And then, not that he's going to make them all, but I think the shot selection will come. He'll get open shots. I know he was struggling with open shots the other night in Milwaukee, but I'm going to take it as a bad game. I'm going to take it as the floor is going to look a lot different with Harden and Embiid both on the floor. It's going to look so much different. That's why I would predict that it's Tybal.
All right, cool. So, hey, Dan Green checking in, and this is where we're going to go here next. Talked about it a little earlier, buyout options. We're already hearing, and it's pretty much a done deal. Willie, Cauley, Stein coming here as Embiid's backup. Good thing, because I'm not sure Millsap had it's not as much size. I guess it is size. I mean, I just don't think he had the physicality really to come in and be that middle guy that we need, that Drummond was. So I honestly don't think we see much more. I mean, once you put Willie, Cauley, Stein in the mix, I think Millsap still gets some minutes. He's probably Tobias's backup. And we already spoke earlier. You got the other 3. Whichever 3 you want to mix in. But for me, it would be someone like Tybal, Korkmaz, and Niang. You throw Cauley, Stein, Millsap. That's your 10 deep. I don't really think you need, Isaiah Joe can still throw up some threes if we need them. Plug him in. I don't get in the market for any others. I think it's just Willie, Cauley, Stein for me, and I rock with what I got. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was looking like Derek Favors.
Yeah.
Like he's deciding, I think he's staying. It seems like a couple of the big guns were staying. Obviously there was hopes that it would be Goran Dragic, but I knew that was never going to happen. But he ended up going to the Nets, which is, and it's kind of head scratching for me if you're him, but to each his own. Him and Nash were buddies and everything like that.
Let's just talk about him real fast. All he does is he kind of messes up what you just got for Seth Curry. He kind of messes up when Irving's out there. Now that the mayor of New York's come out saying he's probably going to lift the mask mandate or the vaccine mandate. I'm sorry. It's an odd fit. I just think when you put odd pieces together, you get odd results. So I thought that was odd. I thought Dragic could have helped out so many other teams, including
Miami. Yeah. It just seems like the market dried up real quick. They thought there were going to be more options, and like a really nice one that would have been Dennis Schroeder, but for whatever reason he's staying in Houston. They're not coming to a buyout agreement, and like he agreed to it. Like it's very weird. So that was another big name that like why you're staying there, I don't know.
Yeah,
but.
I don't know either. He's an odd dude. Like he turned down like $50 million with the Lakers to get like 5 with the Celtics. It was
a 1 year, $5 million deal. Or something. I think it was 1 year, $7 million. I think it was actually like $70 million he turned down.
Yeah,
he thought he was going to get 6 digits, or 100 mil.
Yeah, we're not playing with euros, bud. We're playing with dollars, and like I really don't understand what he's doing. But so when he decides to stay with Ragdolls in Houston, I'm just like, it's Schroeder. It's like I really don't know how to explain him anymore.
I can't be really surprised.
Yeah. So I don't think the Sixers, like, I would have loved those two, but again, where do they fit in?
Right.
They're fitting in with
that's a great second unit leading piece, and you don't feel as it's you still got to figure out how their second unit's going to do, or the way that they mix in the starters and the backups. It's you don't have that full second unit general.
Yeah, it's funny. Maybe now tell me if I'm crazy, but I know one game doesn't make a career or a season, but watching Korkmaz play with a little more space, I'm not as worried about him anymore. For a while there, I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I want someone different than Korkmaz filling that like sniper role. Like I would have liked. I don't know. There's a guy down in Orlando. Is it Gary Harris? I think
Gary Harris is staying in Orlando. He was another buyout candidate. He's staying.
Yeah, those were some names I was thinking, and I'm like, at this point, I think I'm comfortable in my skin. Like I'm comfortable with the team that they have. I just needed a backup for Joe, and we got it, or we'll get it.
Right. Yeah. No, I think Korkmaz has a chance to benefit too.
Yeah. I
really do. And it stings because, we're somewhat down on Korkmaz, and he's very frustrating, especially a defensive liability, but like he actually was a very, very, very good player overseas, and he was regarded very highly. Like he was supposed to be the complement to Dario. He's very talented, and he actually is. Like they were showing his old they had a dunk contest in Europe, and he did something that was better than most of the dunks that were in this weekend's All-Star game or dunk contest. I mean, he's actually extremely athletic, and you see it sometimes. He does make good moves to the basket, and he's a decent driver for a guy of his ilk. Like, it's unfortunate that he's not as great, but he's still serviceable. It's just his defensive liability sometimes.
And he's got to hit shots, right?
But
and
if he's not hitting, he's a killer.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he earned the contract that he got when he resigned in the offseason. Now we got him I think we got him for 3 years.
3 years, 15.
Yeah, 3 years, 15.
And nothing in the NBA.
It's nothing. Right? So
I a lot more elsewhere.
I'm glad to hear it from you because I'm not like this Korkmaz lover, don't get me wrong, but I need guys that know their roles. And I feel like he knows his role. And he can pop 20 one night. And if he just pops 5 the next night, plays a little defense, hits a big shot, I'm good. So, but I do think that's how we're rounding out. Now let's talk about, before we get into this week's slate of games, let's talk about the All-Star weekend. Because I think a lot came out of the All-Star weekend. It was really fascinating. I ended up actually watching that full All-Star game.
I didn't.
Yeah, I just tell you, I normally don't. And I think All-Star games are a waste of time. But I had some friends over and said, let's just pop this on, watch it. And Steph Curry obviously put on a show. But early in the game, I mean, and if Steph Curry doesn't put on the show, I'm convinced Embiid gets MVP. He was pining for it. He was definitely playing for it, and he was earning it. It's just an embarrassment the way these guys try and play defense. Or like they don't
play till like the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter or whatever it is. However they do this,
Yeah, it's no fun. It's not even worth watching. But a couple interesting things came out to me at All-Star Weekend, and one of them was Embiid trying to just bury the hatchet. Like, look, leave me alone. I tried to talking about this guy, Ben Simmons, and he just didn't want to talk. So I'm done. And then he even came out, well, I think it was yesterday with a media day, and they asked him, and he said, listen, I reached out 2-3 times, 1-2 weeks before the deadline, and he went ghost on me. And I'm done. Like, he's gone, so leave me alone. And I do think these questions need to end. I think we need to just let this guy go. And it is what it is. But Joel's definitely leading you down a path to believe that he tried. I believe him. I think
against his will, he had to try.
That's what I think. It's almost you had to try. I think it was, hey, if we don't trade you, I need you to build some goodwill with this guy just in case we're stuck with him for the rest of the season. I think that was the effort they were given. I don't think it was much more than that.
No, I mean, look, they have the whole, the first game of the season, he spoke to the fans, kind of like an AI thing. Like they always have a player speak at the beginning of the season. He's like, let's give support to our brother. Like that definitely was like the organization, like saying like, offer an olive branch. Like maybe, just maybe this will work. And it wasn't happening. And, he says, I've chased him around. I do a lot of chasing. I mean, it's kind of BS, like that he should have had to have done that. Like it's not right. And something that he brought up in his press conference, excuse me, he was saying how when he was up there talking about how like my life is a movie, he said that before. And you totally forget about when he first came into the league after his second season-ending surgery, where he didn't even he played 31 games in his first 3 years. And I think it was after the second surgery or after like those 31 games. And he had another surgery, he was recovering. During that time, his younger brother gets in a car accident, dies. He goes back to Cameroon and he's there and he's like, I don't know if I can do this. Like it's, everyone's mad at me. Like he knew he was hurt, but he's just like, I don't know if I can do this. I just lost my brother. Like, this isn't fun. Like, maybe I should just retire. Like, maybe this wasn't meant for me. Like, my family's hurting. I'm hurting. And then he comes back and he's better than what we expect. Like, he really ends up beating the expectations. And, again, I can't speculate on what, Ben Simmons was going through or what he wasn't going through. But with that being said, you talk about somebody having issues, having something to come back from and to play from. And then he's got this guy over here not answering the phone because Doc and him might have said something. And he's got the audacity to do that when Embiid went through what he went through to start his career and go through all of that, losing a family member. And Simmons said, he's probably like, F this. He's like, I can't believe that I had to do this. He's probably pissed off that he had to say, for my brother, like, and he did, and he held it up for a long time. But he had that tweet lined up when the moment it happened because he was probably so frustrated. And the fact that he's talking about, like, even at the beginning of the year when he said in a press conference, he said, like, at training camp, I don't care about that man. Like,
yeah, he does.
Embiid kept it together, I think, for the most part, and now he's just like, we need to quit it. It's done.
Now, hey, Maddie Daddy presents checking in. I gotta tweet this out real fast because Maddie just dropped a show. He's one of our wrestling insiders, but he's not just wrestling. Just like we all have a little, our own little niche. We have a lot of other things that we do. He's great in the fantasy football, but just got to talk about it. I think was it WrestleMania just happened, right? And he just had this mad drop, and did, it's crazy opening, great stuff. And, for that, I got a few things up here. I got the belt. I got some Macho Man love too. I got some Ric Flairs up there. Love me some wrestling. It was the part of our, generation era we grew up with. I know you probably love some wrestling, girl. You were probably Stone Cold, man.
So here's the thing. I started with WCW, so I was a Goldberg man.
Goldberg.
And then once I got over to WWF, now WWE, I was The Rock.
The Rock. I got some Rock up there too. I love The Rock. And I was a big Cena guy back then, right around. I mean, Cena still tries to show up once in a while. But, my original days were definitely Macho Man, top rope, elbow. Loved it. Had a bunch of other guys I loved back then. But glad to have Matty Daddy on board checking in with us as well. So, Mark, let's look forward here. Let's look at the games ahead this week. Daryl Morey did it simply. He gave like a 3-4 word tweet. Wait until Friday, and then put at Minnesota
at Timberwolves.
And we're going to see it. We're going to see the show Friday. I think we're going to see the show. I think they also play one other time this weekend.
They play Sunday at Madison Square Garden on ABC. So it'll be a nice national televised game for, all to say.
And then they come back, I want to say, here after that game, and it's just going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts for the next few weeks. We remember – what's that?
I think it's the 27th.
That they get
March. It's March 2nd.
Yeah, March. It's home and home. They got Knicks Sunday.
Home and away with the Knicks.
Yep, and then they have Cavs here, and then they just start rolling. And don't forget about March 10th coming up. I'm excited. Give me your prediction for James Harden's stat line come Friday night.
Yeah, I want to say 32 points, 11 assists, 9 rebounds.
Wow. You sign me up. I'm going to put some player prospects. I like it.
He's got to play with some juice. He's got to get back out there. He's been out for a while now. He's had time to recover. He's been getting shots up. He's going to be excited. Minnesota, they have some talent and some skill players, but they should be able to take care of business. But we'll see. It could also be lack of chemistry. Well, I don't know, but I think it's a good opponent. It's not a complete rollover. And Minnesota is not great, but they have great players like Anthony Edwards.
They beat us already.
It's a good start. It's a good start.
Yeah, they beat us already. I want to say earlier this year.
Yeah.
Late in the game, they had the 3-point shooting champion, Karl-Anthony Towns. Believe that. And Anthony Edwards could win a dunk contest by himself, even though I hope they cancel that. But I don't think we'll ever see him in it. They have talent, but they're definitely a team that get them on the wrong night and they'll give you trouble. Get them on the right night. You can blow.
I think it's a good starting test. I think it's a fair test. I think it's you're not rolling into, I don't know. I guess like the Warriors or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's a very good test. I'm going to roll out.
That's the start.
He's averaging 22, 10, and 8. I'm going to say he's under his points total. I'm going to go 20. I'm going to say he drops 15 dimes and grabs those 8 boards. So we're close on the boards.
So you think limited minutes, not like too limited, but like not full game type of stuff. Like you think 28, 30 minutes out of 48. You think it's something like that?
So my opinion, he should play whatever he wants to play. Yeah. So I'm going to say he plays a full load for him in this type of arena environment, 35, 36. I think we see him at. And the reason I say that is I'm not ever a fan. The guy was playing ball before his hamstring injury. Right. Once the hamstring's warmed up, like a hamstring injury, you got to keep playing on it. You've seen a lot of players that go on the sideline and start riding a bike when they have hamstring injuries to keep it warm. What's the best way to keep it warm is it's just run, right? So in my opinion, I don't think there's much. Look, I don't know what the Sixers will do. I don't know what their doctors will say, but for me, for what I know about the injury, I still want to say if it's really an injury, but I'll say that I think he can play a decent amount of minutes. I'm looking at his recent game log out in Brooklyn. He was getting 37, 37, 38, 35, 37, 39, couple 40s before that. So he's right around the 38, 39 mark. I'll say 35. I'll say a couple under what he was playing in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm conflicted because I could see them being like, all right, we're going to hold you back just a tad and play you 30. But then if not, I think if he's feeling it, I think he goes 40. Like that.
Yeah, I see 40 more possibility. I don't know why you hold him back.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
if it was only if it's conditioning. That's the only way.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree. I think the opportunity to really get him to run out there and, like you said, with the hamstring, keep him warm.
Ball out.
But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how much the hamstring is a thing or is it not. And I think, like you said, with conditioning, we'll have to see. I think we'll know by the second quarter. We'll have an idea what his shape is in.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll know whether he's playing the full game or if he's, taking a couple more breaks than normal.
Yep. I think that the challenge won't be as much. And you said, we'll see if it takes a little chemistry. Look, great players like you. We play pickup ball. You just get you can figure it out, right? And I think they can figure out. It'll be more Doc's rotations. That's really going to be the interesting part to me. I think Doc has the bigger challenge than someone like James does, just to figure out where he's getting the right mix, where he's getting the right floor spacing. So, Doc's going to earn his check. Doc's going to have to figure this out because I'm telling you the God's honest truth. I'm still a little like the book's open for me on Doc. I think he's good. I'm not sure he's great. That's why I'm at.
I mean, his only title is with that big three of, Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce.
Would they beat the Lakers that year?
I believe so.
I think it was a Kobe year they beat him. Yeah. Kobe had nobody. I think Malone went down. I think you're right.
Before Gasol?
It was before Gasol. It was when they tried to run Gary Payton.
And then they won
the with Gasol. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because I think they ran the old guys, right? I'm pretty sure Shaq left and they put Carmelo, Gary Payton.
Shaq was definitely gone by that point.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, and I think the Celtics at that time, I think it's interesting because I think they had another year before that they just missed out. So they had a little momentum, chemistry, and they were rolling. But did you see Kevin Garnett give Ray Allen the evil eye this week?
Yeah, but then, I saw
the
picture of the three of them together.
Yeah, I get it.
It was funny. Garnett's like,
yeah. And I couldn't tell if that was at Ray Allen or if he's who knows, right? Who knows?
I mean, yeah, because he dapped up LeBron right in front of him.
Yeah. All right, it's going to be a fun week of the Sixers. Before we get out of here on NBA, I'm going to ask you this. Sixers are the second favorite in the East right now to win it. Brooklyn is still the leading team in the East. Milwaukee's right there with the Sixers. You can get them either way, second or third. From there, you got some good challengers behind them, and those challengers behind them, the Miami Heat, Chicago Bulls, Boston Celtics, only one of them is behind them in the standings. Two are in front of them. Cleveland, I would still say is a long shot, but give me right now as we stand here at the All-Star break, are the Sixers your team to make it out of the East?
To me, it's neck and neck with Milwaukee. I don't think the experiment this year is going to work out in Brooklyn. Even though they're still the odds-on favorite, they're expecting Simmons to come back and just be ready to rock and roll and expect to start shooting. I mean, the national turn in both Simmons and Harden. Harden's become the villain. Simmons has become the hero for whatever reason. I mean, it's crazy. No, I know. But then he's there. Like, he's really disproving.
We know.
But that's what we all thought. But for whatever reason, everybody's running with this narrative that Ben Simmons all of a sudden has a clear air and all of this and that, and then Harden's the a-hole, which like I get it, him forcing his way out doesn't help at the same time. Like things also went a little awry in Brooklyn. It still doesn't look good, I'm not saying, because the way that both players acted is everything that's wrong with the NBA.
Yeah.
It really is. But you know, that turn anyway. So them and you know, they have to get KD back. Simmons has to come back. Dragic has to play. Like there's a lot of forming to do, and the mandate thing might be dropping soon, but like still getting all of them to be ready to play together. I don't think there's enough there yet. I think next year they have a chance to be a force if Simmons buys in and everything like that. So that I think they're out. The Bucks are still the Bucks, and the Sixers played them really hard, and the Bucks played us hard. And I just think that the one thing that I could see is this being the finals matchup, the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, and the chemistry in Milwaukee might just outlast the Sixers this season. That's, to me, that's why Sixers are not my favorite to come out of the East. I mean, obviously, I hope it happens, but I could see Milwaukee like taking it to a 6-7 game series and just being too much for us.
So running the odds down there right now, we're looking at Brooklyn sitting there at plus 245. I'm out on Brooklyn. I think you're out on Brooklyn too. There's just too much that has to happen. The only reason you would ever bet Brooklyn, and you couldn't go wrong if you came up to me and said, this is why I'm betting Brooklyn, is I'm going to go a little darker on that. Kevin Durant. If you came up to me and said Kevin, because to me, he's the best player in the NBA.
Right.
He just is when he's healthy. He's awesome. One of the top 10 players already, to me, of all time, could even get into the top 5, depending on his status of winning some championships and his numbers he puts up down the road. But he's just a freak. He's 7 foot and doing things like that. Right. Okay, you can convince me, but can you convince me that Kevin Durant's going to play every game? Can you convince me that Irving's not going to screw things up, the chemistry is not going to be an issue, and you can't. So Brooklyn's out for me. Then you go to Milwaukee, and I hear you at the plus 330. I no doubt about it. You got to respect the defending champs, and I do. And Giannis, he's a guy that he's going to play, and he's going to be a problem every single time. It's amazing the Sixers haven't played the Bucks yet in the playoffs. They've had a few opportunities. Right. If the Sixers would beat the Raptors a few years ago, they would have seen the Bucks in the finals. If the Sixers would have beat Atlanta last year, would have seen the Bucks in the finals. So they've had some opportunities, just haven't got there yet, and that's unfortunate. So then you look at Philly at plus 370 and Miami at plus 475. That's where I'm at. I do think Miami can make a run. I think there's a lot of good value, expected value, EV, as we call it in the betting world, on Miami. As the number 1 seed right now, a good chance to win the home court advantage. I honestly think they have the best coach in the Eastern Conference. Spoelstra is amazing. And I think they're trouble. But again, you look at a team that's old and lack of depth. We're going to have to see if they do anything to buy out. They're not very deep at all. I mean, they got Jimmy, they got Lowry, they got Hero, they got Adebayo. Yeah, but after that, it gets real thin for me. I mean, Duncan Robinson, nice player, and a couple other pieces. But I'm going to say right now, my money's on Philly. I just put them up, play Milwaukee at 7-game series. I do believe that. I really do. And I don't doubt that the Sixers couldn't potentially get a home court advantage right now as they play throughout this stretch. So I'm going Sixers. You got Milwaukee, which I don't blame you. I took Milwaukee.
By a hair.
Yep.
And I've been trying to hedge my bet. Because in my heart of hearts, I want to take the Sixers there. Like, I want to say it's the Sixers, but I just believe that chemistry, like that 3 of Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis is just, it's a lot. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. Right, I think that losing DiVincenzo was tough. Trading away Connaughton, and I think that's more of a reason why the Sixers have a chance. But to me, it's just a slight edge over the Sixers if I had the bet on it.
All right, so let's talk about the Western Conference, because this is where it gets fun to me. You got Phoenix that just lost their captain for potentially 6 to 8 weeks, probably until at least the playoffs.
all the right. Yeah.
Yeah, he played in the All-Star game, but he played left-handed just because he owed it to the crowd, which I thought was a pretty cool gesture. Going out there trying to shoot left-handed, play a little bit. You get voted in, and I thought it was cool. I mean, there were some other motives, him to break the All-Star assist record and some other things, but I did think it was cool. Right behind them, Golden State, and Golden State's not going anywhere. Sitting right behind them in the odds, I think they're a threat. Obviously, I don't think Steph is playing his best season. I think we all understand that, right?
No.
But could he turn it on at any given time?
It's a given. It's a given. I mean, he's still got. I mean, look. I mean, I know there wasn't a lot of defense being played in that game, but 50 points, 16 3-pointers. It doesn't matter who you are. Like in a gym by yourself, it's hard to make 16 threes, let alone like in some kind of game fashion.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I know I wouldn't make. I mean, and I was a shooter, but I know I wouldn't make them. I wouldn't make that many.
Yeah.
And the way he was making them at the logo. So let's look at it. Phoenix plus 180, Golden State plus 185. Then it dropped significantly. Utah 650, Memphis 1100, Denver 15, Lakers. I don't even know why anybody gives them a shot. And then Dallas. Dallas is interesting. Getting rid of Kristaps was a big move, but it's freed up Luka so far. He's been going nuts. And then they won a late game at Miami right before the break, which I thought was impressive.
I mean, if you want to take far out money, something interesting to see. Legitimately, I don't know if they actually have a shot there, but the fact that that the odds makers still have to placate to LeBron and I gotta tell you, the venom just pours out of me. Everything that came out this weekend about LeBron, about it being about just the All-Star game being in Cleveland. And then I keep thinking why do I loathe him so much? And every single thing that comes out, him talking about, well, I might be back to Cleveland and I'm going to play with Bronny. The money doesn't matter. All this crap. He's the I've never he makes me cringe. I can't stand him.
That shot was for Cleveland.
Yeah,
it wasn't for you.
No.
Don't give two shits.
Everything for him. He's a play, and everybody in the national media still just eats it alive, and they always try to bite on every article. And I mean, it's all clickbait, and they just grovel and saliva and drool over his blinking his eyes. I mean, it's not worth it. And there's a local person out, somebody put out so I don't know if we talked about this last episode or not, but on Marc Lowe from ESPN, he came out and said, the rumor is that Harden doesn't opt into his deal. He takes less money. They do away with Tobias. They get his contract off the books and bring a third star in. So somebody says, as the conspiracy theory here is to bring LeBron here, because they already were talking about if he doesn't sign an extension with LA this summer, it's over. He's done in LA. Right. And I somewhat, and you know me, I loathe everything about LeBron, but I somewhat considered it when he was a free agent before with LA. That's saying a lot for me, because I was like, you know what, maybe it is what they need, get it done, whatever. But now he could want to play here for free, and I want no parts of it whatsoever. People say, no, that's BS. When he decides to come around, no, I really, he's a team obliterator. What they used to call TO. He's a team obliterator. He tries to get his friends here. He would mess up the chemistry. I want absolutely no part of that whatsoever. I would be sick because of going through the process and everything. That's the one player that I would say I'm out on. I couldn't do it now at this point.
You don't have to worry about it.
I know, but it's just something that I had to get out there and here's my thought. Harden came here to play with one star. Right.
He already had a chance to play with two.
I don't even think the Beal thing happens.
No, I think
I think that thing is just a conspiracy theory.
And believe me, I believe this. I think 3 stars is a problem. I just do. I just think I'm okay getting rid of Tobias in the offseason, maybe filling him in with
a really good role player, like somebody that known third guy, like what Tobias Harris was supposed to be.
Yeah.
A consistent guy.
But all right, let's get back to it. So Western Conference, you got Milwaukee in the East right now. Look at those odds. I'll lead off because you let off the last one. So I'll oh man, I want to do it. I so want to do it. I want to say Memphis. I really, really want to. I love Memphis. I love how they're playing. Yeah. I think they are so live. I have a couple bucks on them at those numbers to win the Western Conference right now. I will bet them at plus 1,100. They're better than Utah. I actually think they can beat Phoenix in a series. I think where we struggle here, I'm going to go Golden State. I think 185. I think Klay Thompson can only get better for them. I think the other thing is Kuminga's starting to play a little more. They're starting to get some of their younger guys and some guys that were hurt more minutes now. I think they can only get better. I just said Steph hasn't played well this. Let me take that back. Steph hasn't played Steph this year, and I think he can just do even better. And I'm going to say that they're going to get better as we go on here. So I'm looking at a Golden State Sixers finals.
Okay, well, for me, we're going to go a rematch of last year. I know Phoenix Suns are slightly the favorite. And, the Chris Paul injury does hurt. But at the same time, it's a caveat because I feel like in this scenario, they'll find a way to get his hand as close as ready as possible for the playoffs. He'll be rested up at his older age. And they'll find a way to get his legs under him in the first round. They'll slowly roll him in the first round. He gets back to basketball shape by the second round. And I just think that with Devin Booker, he takes a step forward. They've all had the tutelage. They still have a really good team, even without Chris Paul. Obviously, the glue. He's the glue. We know that. But his leadership in their time off, in his absence, I think they build. And they don't lose too much steam. I don't think they're going to fall down. I think they're still going to end as the number 1 seed.
They will.
Golden State's live, but for me, I think Phoenix will still have just enough to make it to the finals. So if it were me, I'm taking the favorite with Phoenix. I said it to a couple coworkers right after the Harden trade. I said I still think it's Milwaukee. I think it's Phoenix, and this was before Chris Paul's injury, and I would still say the same.
And look, I don't blame you. I mean, they have a 6.5 game lead, right? On Golden State. I think they got the 1 seed locked in, no matter if he plays or not.
They're a complete team.
But you really got Milwaukee and Phoenix a rematch?
I do.
I guess it happens. Golden State, Phoenix. Golden State, Cleveland happened a few times. So I guess it could. I'm not going to hate on that. But hey, that wraps up a big segment on the NBA. 48 minutes strong. Let's get into the last 10, 12 minutes of this show, and let's talk real quick about the NFL. And then we'll hit on the MLB. We'll hit MLB. That's what we'll do tonight, see what the prospects are there. But NFL, it's about to get hot. We don't have to get too much into it yet. There's some maneuvering, some posturing already being done. But the interesting news coming out this week, Aaron Rodgers sitting there just throwing this cryptic Instagram post out there thanking everybody he's ever had, touch him in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Almost, rolling out packing up the suitcases and rolling out of town kind of speech. But he comes and clarifies it that, hey, I just had a cleansing and I just, had this, newfound life. And
hashtag Monday Night Gratitude. What is that?
The hell's wrong with this guy? The fuck is wrong with this guy? I'll even say, but he is I've always called him a fraud. He will always be a fraud. He's never
you and Drumheller always said it, and I always backed him more than both of you.
He's a fraud. He's an absolute fraud. He's a fraud as a player and a human being. And he's got to make the decision. I think it's before March 5th, before the new year starts, because that's when they can start franchise tagging people and all this stuff. and they're going to franchise Adams, I'm sure, but they want to know what their quarterback's doing.
Right.
Dude, I don't know. He's just got to go. I think he's gone. I think he's long gone, and I still think he ends up in Denver. And I was hard about this early in the offseason. I was big about this even in the, leading up to December, January area when we were up there at Heat Ratio Sports from the Steam Pub. I just think he's posturing himself for that. He's out. I know they hired like a QB coach that has been in retirement for a while just to placate him, but I think he's out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's either retiring or which I really don't think is happening. I think he's got too much going on in his head to be able to retire and to go out the way that he did. So I really think that Denver's the opportunity. Nathaniel Hackett being the coach there, I think they hired him hoping / like, here's our chip to get you here.
I know.
And he's going to look at it and say, they have a good defense. They have good receivers. They really have an opportunity. They have, they really can. It's not amazing, but I think that the prospects go up that they have a two-headed back.
No, I think their offense is
Williams.
Yeah, and
not a great setup.
Gordon. Yeah, but what do you got receiver? You got 3. I think Jerry Jeudy could be really, really good. Right?
Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and from Penn State, the burner. Not Anthony Hamilton. It's this is killing me.
Yeah, dude.
He was number 1 on Penn State.
No, I had it a minute ago too. He's a slot guy that just makes everything happen.
Not Jalen something. I can't feel like it's a J.
Yeah. We'll get to it, but also the tight end, right? Noah Fant is real dynamic. I think they just have a team, like he'd have more weapons there potentially than what he had in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Are you going for it?
Yeah, I'm going for it. I think that really makes sense. That has to be. I mean, you make this whole big stink and almost not play to just return. Now, what I think he should do, I think he should stay. I think he should stay.
KJ Hamler.
Yeah, I knew there was a J in there.
I know. I was so.
That was tough. Big guy, but I really think that he should stay because he's got a great division to be in. All 3 of those teams are not on the up and up. And he's going to go to if he does go to Denver, which I think is really one of the only places that makes sense, that lines up, he's going to go play with Mahomes, Carr, and Herbert. And it's still like those Broncos will still be good. Don't get me wrong. But he's got a cakewalk and he's still got a great fan base. And I mean, he could, make a legacy in there, though. I just don't think that they'll ever make it back to the Super Bowl because they just always find a way to choke. But Green Bay is just a scenario, and he's just
he's part of the scenario, dude. He looked like he just didn't get 2 shits against San Fran. I'm sorry, like he's part of it. All right, so you got him staying, I got him going.
Russell, no. I got him going too. Like if you,
you just think he should.
I'm saying his best option would be to stay, but I think he goes.
All right, so we both got him going. All right,
yes.
Russell Wilson.
The chatter is that he's going to stay.
I got him going.
I think I do still have him staying, even though I think he really wants out. But I have a hard time believing that Pete Carroll is just going to let him go.
I don't know if it's much that you let. As more as it like. I just feel it's time. Like he's earned whatever he wants to do, in my opinion. So I think if Russell believes that he's done his due diligence and his time, and he just wants to explore different and play somewhere else, it's his right. And I think he's scratching, and I think he's going to go. I don't have a good pulse where he's going to go yet. I mean, I have this god awful feeling he might have in Washington, but I don't know. I don't know where he'll end up, but I got him going.
I think Las Vegas has I think Vegas makes sense. It's not the Giants. The Giants put their backing in what's his face, Danny Dimes.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay, I mean, you got Arians coming out there saying that he's good with Blaine Gabbert with all the weapons that they have. So
that's a lie, but yeah,
it is. But
all right, last one.
I think Vegas would make sense. Yeah.
All right, so you got it. You do have him staying.
I have him staying,
but if he goes, okay. Watson, does he go?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he goes.
All right. I mean, they're still with all this, like, with all this lawsuit stuff, you just don't know, right? Like, but and there's some stuff coming out today. They can only put 9 in court and some different things. So you do have them going. Then give me where. I think you might be right.
Like, I mean, here's the thing.
I do think you might be right.
Intelligence last year, sent a detective down there, try to go figure out the scenario. 18 of the 22 were resolved. There was the rumors that Jeffrey Lurie was okay with the scenario, try to make something happen. He doesn't want to go there now, but I think when he sees that Miami's no longer an option, Carolina doesn't look as promising as it did before. Those were 2 of the big teams. I think if the Eagles make their pitch to him that, hey, this is the place to be. I know it's not the warm weather that you want, but it's an organization. We have Devontae Smith. We have Dallas Goedert. If it doesn't take too much to get you, we'll draft another receiver. We'll cater to you. And the fans will not like it, but I think it's going to be one of those things where you just kind of end up dealing with it. I said what I did last week. What?
What's it cost?
I think it costs 2 firsts and a third.
Are they both this year?
No. I think whatever they do, they take 1 from next year, 1 from this year.
I'm in.
Because they're asking
I don't want 2 this year.
First rounders.
I think we need too much. If you get, and I've said this, if you take 1 away from me, I'm going defense, right? And I'm good with that. And you can't convince me. Russ Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson is worth 2 this year. This team needs more. They need a lot more. So you could get me on 1 in a future year, and even next year I'm fine. Or if you can project us being good next year
instead of a third, or a second instead of a third, like 2 firsts and a second.
It's still got to be next year, right?
I mean, you have 2 firsts this year. If you get to keep 2 firsts, you give up a first and a second. You just deal with it.
Yeah, you know what
I think to get the quarterback, I think you do it.
I don't know. I don't know if I can, because I know what I can do. I know what I can package. I can move 1 of these first this year for probably another first next year or second. I can do a lot of maneuvering, and I'm sitting. What am I sitting? 15, 16, 18, or 16?
15, 16, 19.
19. Yeah. No, for a guy that hasn't played in 2 years, I'm not giving 2 this year. I'm sorry that someone might.
A 1 and a 2 this year. You're not doing it. I can't. I don't think you really.
If it's just 1 and 2 this year, absolutely. But if it's 1, 2 this year and a future one, oh man.
I think here's the problem. Here's the problem that the Eagles have to face. Everybody's trying to say, there's 2 ways that you can go about this. And you listen to the radio and you hear everybody saying that, oh, I believe in Hurts and I want to use all 3 draft picks. There is nothing there for me to believe in with Hurts. Everybody wants to say the leadership isn't that's being overlooked. But his arm is below average. Yep. And I don't think that's ever going to get better. So all I want people to is just be real with themselves and just say, hey, you want 3 first-round draft picks so you can draft all defense. That's fine. Don't sit there and feed me BS that, Jalen Hurts is this great guy when it comes to playing football. The problem is I think they have a chance to be in quarterback purgatory if they don't make a move for somebody soon. These quarterbacks don't come around. Now, it looks like some of these are going to end up staying where they are, or Rodgers is just going to go to Denver. Russ is going to stay, but Watson is your one opportunity where he has the ability to be an upper tier quarterback. So you'll get all these defensive guys, but then your offense won't be able to do anything. You score 7 points against the Giants,
I got
the Commanders. I think this is the time to bite. And I think you're going to get a lower price for an elite guy, because then the way that the quarterback, I know you want to say something, but the way that the quarterbacks come up now, they just aren't built the same. And there isn't like that guy that's just like, yep, that's the guy.
Everything you're saying, we've been the same on Hurts. I think he's garbage, to be honest with you. And can I live with him as my starting quarterback next year? I always say I can, as long as I can build around him. But if I had an opportunity to get a stud like Watson, yes, I got it. I just wish I knew these legal problems would go away. That's my hesitation for everything I'm saying today on the draft pick package. That's my hesitation. If you could sit here and tell me today,
they got to know more than us. I think Howie Roseman knows what he's doing,
and he was out a year. I think maybe that was part of, like, in a way, a suspension. We'll see, but that's where I'm at with Watson. Would love him, yes, but I'm not ready for the price that you're paying until I know more if he can play. Now, I lied. I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Where's Carson Wentz play next year?
Right down I-95. Washington Commanders.
Oh, man.
I think it makes sense. I think they're in a purgatory too, and they don't really have, like, I don't think they would even be able to get Russ anyway.
But if they draft Malik Willis, because they're the first team, they're going to draft 11 or 12.
Right.
They would probably take a chance on a quarterback.
Sure.
We've already proven that Carson Wentz can't operate in a system where he
doesn't really have much of a choice.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a choice anymore. To be thrown out of Indianapolis after 1 year, and I mean, now in his head, he's going to say he still was the runner-up MVP in 2017, but he doesn't have a choice anymore. He's just, his agent's got to say, look, you got to go, and you got to fake it till you make it.
So the noise I'm hearing, and I kind of believe in this, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their team, I think, that has won with a lack of quarterback recently.
Right.
Roethlisberger couldn't throw past 5 yards. Their team that has offensive potential. They have Najee Harris at running back. Not quite Jonathan Taylor, but they very similar. Very good. The just options at receiver are very good. I could see Carson suiting up in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform next year. They have no options. Their only other option, to me, it's not Mason Rudolph. They can say what they want. It's like you said about Tampa. I feel like Jameis might end up back in Tampa, but Jameis is their only really other option, unless they really want to deal for Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think costs a little more. I think Jimmy's the one that ends up in Tampa. So I'm going Carson's out, but I'm going Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's a good one.
We got a lot on the table here, and it's going to be fun when we start really looking into this in the next couple of weeks. Last point here, MLB. They met again today. MLB, the association, the owners made some adjustments, but the big news is if there's no deal by Friday, and we're 48 hours from Friday, there's no baseball 162 games. The schedule gets adjusted. We lose time. They lose money. The fans are the ones that lose the most. I'm telling you right now, I'm just about done with this sport. And it's a shame. Something I grew up with, I loved. They hurt me in 94. And I hurt me bad because the Phillies were coming off a great 93 season. And in that lockout, it was just disgusting. And for them to even kind of like toe this road again, I'm pissed, man. And I have no reason to ever go back.
So, I mean, I was just getting into baseball at that time, so I really don't remember.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to give it up just because, like, even though I don't play baseball, I play softball. Like, I still just like sometimes like look at it, and it's just always something that like I've watched in the summer, down the shore, get back from the beach, and the game is on, and you not ready to give that up. But I mean, you want to talk about having an opportunity to be so great and to just never do anything about, like, the league as a whole. I mean, it's truly incredible on, what you have and the stars that you have, and you don't know how to market and you don't know how to put them out there. And it's such a
You don't know how to
waste.
fix the game either.
Yeah,
These
it's
pitch
such a
clocks,
well,
these like
I think the
extra
thing is the answers are out there. I think the answers are out there, but they just are stuck in their old, we gotta do it the old way. So you see some of these sports like basketball and football, they adjust to the times and they make it work. Yeah, do they lose some credibility? Like
Sure.
basketball has, become more of an ISO game and it's not as much about team, but it's still exciting and they still get the best out of these players. And is football a little not enough defense? Sure, but the good defenses still win. They adjust to the times. Baseball, they're stuck. They're in the Stone Ages and they're stuck and they're costing themselves money and real opportunities. And they have a lot to do to fix this thing. And right now they're holding the players hostage by saying it's not going to be 162 if not done by Monday.
And it sucks. I mean,
Terrible.
I coach 3 baseball teams in town, little league teams. My kids all play. I see what it is to develop the game, to bring it up from an early age. And these kids, they look like we pick out major league uniforms to wear for our season. Right. Last year, one team I had was the Angels, just because they knew Mike Trout, they loved him. Right. Phillies on another, and it's the things we love to do. And A's was another team we picked because a little history with the Philadelphia. Back in the day, they were the A's, and they're losing people. The baseball's losing people. There's lacrosse being played at this time of year. There's soccer, obviously, that people are transitioning to, and they don't realize. The marketing is a huge point that you talk about, but the fact of the matter is, people love baseball because they can go. They don't have to pay attention every single second of the game. They can go grab a cheesesteak. They can grab a beer, a pretzel, go sit down, miss a pitch or two, be in it.
Go play on the little wiffle ball fields.
Yes.
It's a family event, and they can't even do that anymore. And kids don't, like you said, if they don't care about the pro leagues, and then they're not like, when I was a little kid, I was like, I want to be like Scott Rowland. Yeah. I want to be like Derek Jeter. Like, I want to be like this guy, because those were the guys who were coming up. And, when I started really playing, like I emulated Doug Glanville, like all that. Like I got juiced. I was amped for all that. Like Kurt Schilling, like the whole nine. Those are my first memories of baseball. And I loved it. And I wanted to be those guys. I reenacted like catching the ball, like the way ground balls, the whole thing. And kids today, they don't even know who the Mets are. Like they barely know the Phillies because their dad talks about them. Like besides that, I mean, there's no excitement for it whatsoever. And in an age where attention is so quick to turn that we don't stay focused and they can't market this anymore, they're almost done. Like I don't want it to be done.
I agree.
I don't know how they can get it back. They have to overhaul, and they hire the same dinosaurs to be commissioner. Manfred has been terrible. Bud Selig was okay. This Rob Manfred or whatever, he's god awful. He's killing the sport. It's
killing it. Everything you're saying, and that's why I'm saying, like, it's almost done.
They should know that because kids aren't excited about these players and they don't know the players, their product is going to end sooner than later, because they're not going to have the best talent in the world. And we're never going to know what that talent is.
They're doing to themselves. And like, I only wanted to spend a few minutes here talking about it. They're not going to see us talk about it. They're not going to know. But there's a lot of people that feel like us, that, have the passion like us, that are baseball lifeies and love the game and love. Baseball's a strategy game. I can go there, keep score. I can watch how they're playing, defense, how they're pitching, so on, hit and run. And it feels like I can actually manage the game. And that's what's pretty cool. Like, I'm not saying I'm Joe Girardi, but you just feel like you're a part of it, and you can really see it. And we're losing America's game, America's pastime. And it's all because we've got greedy owners And more importantly, I mean, we got a commissioner that just doesn't know how to negotiate. So I hope we got better news next week because I think the Phillies are in contention. I think they got a couple moves they can make. We've talked about it. Kevin Kiermaier, there's some opportunities out there. Chris Bryant. I'd be excited to talk baseball. So hopefully next week we'll have some better news, but not looking good, man. But you know what's looking good? Us every Wednesday here on the Heat Ratio Network. We're going to be back again next Wednesday. Faux show, talking about James Harden debut and talking about what is right about TikTok. Games locked. NFL free agency will start a little bit shortly after we talk next week. So we'll have a lot more news about where things are starting to shape up. The new season, I think, starts on March 5th. So we got a lot happening here on Philly. 4 for 4 plus more fourth to go. I'm Dave Gluckner. That's Marc Thomasini. You got anything for the fans before we run?
We need baseball back.
We do. Otherwise, I'm giving up. And I don't want to give up. I'll hang in there. But until next week, Marc, it was great for this last hour talking so much more sports. That's what it is. Bar Talk here on Philly. Fourth and Go. Until next week, we're